Do y'all still think that an offensive tackle, I should say offensive lineman, but specifically an offensive tackle, is in play at number 5 overall?
I don't think this move changes anything in that direction.
No.
I mean, he's played like 12 games in 6 years or whatever it is. So I don't think this is massively changing anything that would be their direction in the draft. I think this is just, if more so, the Javon Foster pick looks worse and worse by the day. But that it tells me more of that than it does anything else.
Yes. Co-signed what Taylor said. Take the pick, auction it off for charity, throw it into the flames, because this suggests that depth is what James Gladstone is also very keenly aware of, that needs to be changed. Not only perhaps starters at different positions, and certainly, holes that need to be addressed, whether that's in the secondary at safety, whether that's reshuffling that wide receiver room around Brian Thomas Jr. Certainly now Bretton Strange ascending to be the number 1 tight end in that room. This is about the depth as well, and constantly just adding pieces, especially at a position where you never know who could go down and who you just want on your 90-man roster so that they know the playbook. Yeah. And so if you need them in a pinch come late September or October, you could sign them back to your 53-man roster.
I guess to me, now that they've added 4 offensive linemen through free agency, it tells me if they like their tackles that they're going in a different direction with that 5th pick. I'm still going to say that it's a defensive lineman, most likely that defensive tackle.
Oh, yeah, to be
Mason
clear,
Graham.
it's
that's who I think that they're going to go after. I've never really thought it was an offensive lineman once we started to see the different things that have been happening. But yeah, if for some reason they do draft offensive tackle, offensive guard at 5, then that does speak to me that they don't like either Walker Little or Anton Harrison, and that person will be starting at either left or right tackle come week 1. But in my mind, that's not happening. I really think they're going defensive linemen, and then they can circle back to certainly some more offensive linemen in the draft.
Yeah, and I honestly never really saw it that way. I always kind of felt they were going defensive tackle just because of the way this draft is kind of shaking out and things like that. But I don't think that these offensive linemen they've signed have changed any thoughts for the future of what they need at the line, because I think all these are just kind of patchwork guys to get them through momentarily. So if there was some stud guy at the top, if this was like a Penei Sewell, yeah, like I think that in a heartbeat they would still take somebody. But I do think because they have these gap pieces that maybe can just, these bridge guys that can get them through the next year or two, and you could go get a guy like a Mason Graham if he's there at 5, then that is still the way you're going. But I don't think this move specifically ties to any decision they're making in the draft.
I know we're building towards the discussion surrounding Adam Schefter's report. Certainly Buck Rising out of 104.5 The Zone in Nashville's report that Cam Ward expected to be taken number 1 overall. This is perhaps one of the most important breaking news updates that you're going to get today on this fine Wednesday. I just heard RJ scream, oh no.
Breaking news.
I hope that was audible over the air as RJ Saunders screams, oh no. The Masters has announced what the Masters Club dinner will be in honor of defending champion Scotty Scheffler. And if, folks, you weren't hungry already as I read this list, you're going to be hungry. And for those of you who are sick and tired of golf after a wonderful week of coverage by 1010XL at the Players, indulge me here for a second in more ways than one. Ladies, get ready. Cheeseburger sliders served Scotty style. I don't know what that is. Firecracker shrimp. Papa Chef's meatballs and ravioli bites, probably in honor of the injury that, of course, Scotty Scheffler suffered while trying to make homemade ravioli. That's just the appetizer. Let's get to the first course. Texas-style chili. And then for the main course, your choice of wood-fired cowboy ribeye or blackened redfish. And for dessert, warm chocolate chip skillet cookie.
Can I skip the dessert and get both the ribeye and the redfish?
I just want all the appetizers. I'm not going to lie. And that's elite. And then you throw that with some chili. Scotty, can you throw the party for us this Saturday and Sunday? We've already got hooked up tomorrow with Hurricane Grill and Wings. Friday at Big Dogs in Middleburg. I need some Saturday, Sunday action. I think I need Scotty Scheffler to be my chef.
Yeah, it sounds like from what people are tweeting, this is almost the exact same one he had the last time. So he likes what he likes, which is fine. Like, if you have your things that you love, you go for those. I was trying to find what the Scotty style cheeseburger sliders served Scotty style. So by a quick Google search, the slider turned Scheffler. This was So he likes to have fries on top of his cheeseburgers.
Oh, yes.
And so I guess
Let's
that's
go.
the Scotty style, is because Scheffler likes fries on top of his cheeseburgers, and I guess that's where.
So that's almost like a poutine then.
Yeah, kind of.
No, it's like a fat sandwich.
Well, yeah, it's like when you put chips on your sandwich,
Yeah.
but I guess French fries
But
on your burger.
But if it's okay, so it's under the bun,
Yeah,
not on top
like
of
in
the
top-
bun. Okay,
yeah,
'cause if
in
it's
the
over
actual
the
burger.
bun, then it makes it seem like it's poutine with just a cheeseburger underneath. But if it's fries layered in, I would hope those fries are really crispy in order to add some texture elements. But it's Scotty's choice,
It's
not
his
mine.
meal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that we've made you really hungry, let's talk about Cam Ward.
Well, one more thing about Javon Foster. A year ago, after the draft, so a little less than a year ago, I remember saying I thought that the Jaguars' starting offensive tackles in 2025 would be Anton Harrison switching from right to left tackle and Javon Foster as the right tackle, because we heard so many great things about him at Missouri, and Eli Drinkwitz joined XO Primetime and raved about him. And so I thought, all right, here's this guy who certainly played well in the SEC, and now he's going to be a projected starting right tackle in the NFL. And now I have no idea what this staff thinks of him, other than I don't think he's going
Very
to be a
highly.
starting tackle.
Well, I can tell you this. The previous coaching staff, he wasn't even on their board. He was simply a scouting department favorite, and that happens from time to time.
Yeah,
Not
sure.
saying that doesn't work out, but just know that the Doug Peterson coaching staff didn't even have him on their board. They were surprised when the name was said with the 116th or 114th pick, whatever it was, in last year's April NFL draft.
To do a flyer like that on the 4th round pick, and then you're not in alignment with.
Bingo!
Yeah, that's the massive issue, which I do think that's fixed. I do think James Gladstone and Liam Cohen, but Tony Baselli in the mix as well, are in alignment. At least that's what I have to believe as of now, because of all the videos that they're showing us makes it seem like they're in alignment. All right, yeah, let's get to Cam Ward. So Adam Schefter reports that it is likely that Cam Ward will go number 1 overall to the Titans. We've known that the Titans have had a quarterback that has struggled massively in Will Levis. The questions this offseason were, do the Titans still try to build around Will Levis and add weapons to this roster, or do they move on from Will, or do they just bring in competition at the very least, kind of like what we're seeing with the Colts with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones? To me, the Titans staff understands that they're not going to keep their jobs unless they have a quarterback that plays a heck of a lot better than Will Levis has. And I think Will Levis was overdrafted. And so to me, putting all their chips in on Cam Ward, I think it's a smart decision. My only fear for Cam Ward is that he's thrown a lot of interceptions in college, and that he'll continue to do so at the next level when the competition plays even faster.
I will tell you 2 things that I definitively know about what is going on in Nashville right now. The first is Mike Borgonzi has a longer leash, and that's probably obvious. But the second part,
The general manager.
Yes, the
Yeah,
general
the new
manager
general
of the
manager,
Tennessee Titans, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs, was hired this offseason. The second is that Rand Carthen, for better or worse, had a certain way of operating and made decisions that were not necessarily in alignment with the rest of not only Amy Adams Strunk, the controlling owner, and her opinions, but also many people in the scouting department, many people on the coaching staff. Not a lot of alignment the last 2 years in Tennessee. And so that's where you look at the Will Levis pick and you say, well,
Experiment.
Borgonzi's not tied to him.
Yeah.
Technically, Brian Callahan's not tied to him. And so that's where I think, because they have a longer leash, they have had to spend the better part of the last month since the NFL Combine figuring out if they want Cam Ward or not.
Yeah.
Or Shedeur Sanders, sure. But ultimately, is Cam Ward not only their future quarterback from this crop, but also looking ahead to next year and the year after that, because Borgonzi, in my estimation, will still be the general manager in 2 drafts times when the likes of, I don't know, DJ Lagway, Archie Manning, and company all become available in the NFL draft. And that's not to say you should bank on, well, we could get one of those guys in 2 years, but it is to say you're not just grading Cam Ward against this class, you are grading him against what is to come, because you recognize you will have that opportunity to, whether through the draft or pro free agency, have the opportunity to sign somebody or draft someone other than him. And that's where I look at the New York Giants. And I look at, if you are Borgonzi, much like James Gladstone, and you know that you have this longer leash, you look at how desperate that situation is for Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. If you're not in love with Cam Ward, why wouldn't you auction the pick off to them? Because to me, if you have that longer leash and they're going to give you a king's ransom and you can hold them hostage, you should do so, acquire more capital, more picks, and turn that into, much like James Gladstone is trying to do here, raising the floor and fleshing out other parts of the roster.
But we don't know if the Giants are in that sweepstakes because we still don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be the Giants quarterback, which I
he's
think
just playing games still.
Right, which I think would potentially take them out of that. But yeah, the homework that they're doing on Cam Ward, Taylor, he might be the number 1 overall pick, and he started his college career at Incarnate Word.
Yeah.
Word. Like, that's wild.
Yeah, and I think there's two sides of this, and we've had the conversations a lot about, how long do you wait? How patient are you when it comes to developing quarterbacks and figuring out what you have? And we've seen teams hit that eject button very quickly, and then those players go somewhere else and they have success. And we've seen other teams give probably too much time to young quarterbacks, hoping that eventually things will catch up and the game will slow down a little bit. And then you just
Blake Bortles.
Yeah, and then you just don't really see it. And so I think with the Tennessee Titans, I've never been a fan of Will Levis. I didn't think Will Levis was going to be anything special, but I also don't think the Tennessee Titans have built a product to help him much either. I mean, they had a bottom 10 offensive line this last season. The weapons, I mean, we know what it's like to have Calvin this last couple years. It doesn't help your the passing game too much. And I think that when you go in through some of those things, I think the one thing you can say is with Tony Pollard had a pretty good season, so they were able to run the ball decently. But I do think that it's not like you put him in the best circumstances, but you are making a decision right now, and you have this opportunity to draft another quarterback. And I've seen some things where it's Cam Ward's possible ceiling being, I've seen a Ben Roethlisberger name dropped of like a possible ceiling from Derek Clausen of he does
the
draft
athletic
stuff,
football show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was his possible comp for a ceiling. Granted, how close do you actually get to that ceiling? We've seen those conversations too. But I just think that when you are evaluating, it's obviously very important because your quarterback's everything, and we know that here. And so, but also the surroundings are also a big play in this. And if you don't have what you think, especially if you're bringing in a young quarterback and how they'll play this out, does Will Levis still start this year and they bring in Cam and Cam sits a year and they try and develop him the proper way? Does it look like that, or does it look like a situation of what Chicago did and Will Levis maybe goes somewhere else and they make Cam Ward their guy, or Shedeur, but Cam Ward obviously in this conversation. And so there's so many routes you can go, but you're evaluating a lot. But the one positive out of this is hitting that reset button gets you a whole another 4 years of figuring it out, where you're not having to pay someone super high dollar, and you're hoping that being able to build around that person the next 2-3 years can start to fix things. And I think for them right now, they're probably saying, is Cam Ward better than Will Levis? And that's where the conversation kind of has to start.
Right. But to Mia's point, is Cam Ward better than Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix Jr., J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix? That was the crop from last year.
Yeah.
And then when you look ahead, is he better than all of those guys? And you can't guarantee that you're going to pick number 1 overall.
Yeah.
In fact, if the Jaguars had been worse in the 2 games and really should have lost that first game to the Titans, the Jaguars would have the number 1 overall pick yet again. But yeah, I think the Titans have a very interesting decision ahead of them, because I think their organization has been kind of a mess.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you have Brand Carson.
And I was told it got even messier over the last 2 years. So, I mean, let's be real here.
Ran out yes. Mike Vrabel, who was actually a good coach. And then Rand obviously didn't do a good enough job, so he was run out. Like, it's
better yet, he brings Chad Brinker to be his, I guess, number 2 of sorts. He gets elevated to vice president. They run Rand out. Like, it is a very dysfunctional situation up there. Good on them for at least hiring someone in Mike Borgonzi, who has been certainly in the conversation for the next hire at general manager across the league for about a decade now. But yeah, Mike's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, that he does. But down here in Jacksonville, we'll just keep looking at their situation and hopefully laughing as the Jaguars hopefully once
someone on the text line said the same thing. I'm so happy we are not sitting at number 1, writes 613. I believe Cam Ward is strictly average. Don't see him as a top-tier quarterback. I'm happy that Tennessee will remain dysfunctional. Levis likely beats Ward out unless they feel compelled to play him. I frankly believe Jackson Dart is the best quarterback prospect.
I'm a Dart
class.
fan.
Yeah, you're certainly seeing Jackson Dart at what he did this season under Lane Kiffin, and then of course what he's projected to be able to do in the NFL is someone that's rising up these draft boards. But yeah, we will see. We'll continue the quarterback conversation on the other side. Some news when it comes to the Vikings. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
1010XL is your home for Jacksonville University basketball.
The Dolphins splash into the ASUN semifinal. JU North Alabama. Tomorrow night at 7 on 1010 a.m.
You know, Mr. Chubby's Wings is giving away free beer again this year for the Madness Tournament.
Do they really give you a free pint of Miller Lite for each game you pick right?
Yes, all you got to do is fill out your bracket now at 1010XL.com. The overall winner gets tickets to Welcome to Rockville on Saturday. But for free beer, just download your bracket, print it out, and bring it into any Mr. Chubby's Wings location during the games. Every game you pick right, you get a free beer.
Go to 1010XL.com now. It's the Free Beer Chubby Madness Bracket Challenge. See Mr. Chubby's Wings Facebook for full contest details.
At Duck Duck Air Conditioning, we've got a crazy offer just for you. Mia here, and Duck Duck AC is giving away a free AC inspection to wonderful customers who call and schedule now. No strings attached. Zero cost for you. One of our expert techs will come and look at your AC unit and make recommendations to ensure it's running at peak performance. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. That's 904-862-6769, or visit them online at duckduckac.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Here's Linda Beaver.
It's a new year with new goals, but let's face it, not all resolutions are easy to keep. Maybe you promised yourself you'd eat healthier, but pizza still seems like a better idea. Or you said you'd read more, but your favorite show just launched a new season. At Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet, we can help you keep your New Year's resolution. We offer the biggest selection, best prices, and the easiest car buying experience. Let's make a resolution to visit Beaver Toyota or Beaver Chevrolet, where we'll wow you with a new ride for the new year.
E.T. here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, you have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits. You have the right to choose your own doctor, too. And I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation, the auto accident experts.
Helmets and heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
This is Hayes Carline for Physician Guided Weight Loss. I'm down over 25 pounds already this year, and I feel great with no side effects, all thanks to their amazing technology, fast setup, friendly staff, and their proven results. Plus, a firm pricing structure means there are no rising costs as you go. If you're ready for a leaner body ahead of the warmer weather coming, call my friends at Physician Guided Weight Loss at 257-4344. That's 257-4344, Physician Guided Weight Loss.
What could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey, Prosser here. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold, hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisals. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day, so act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 904-999-1508. Get the money you need for anything at 904-999-1508 or just go to LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
With the sun setting earlier, Hidden Hills Golf Club has expanded their twilight specials so you can take advantage of our special afternoon rates and get your round in before dark. Book today at hiddenhillsgc.com and enjoy this beautiful fall weather.
It's the Mr. Chubby's Bracket Challenge going on now at 1010XL.com. Print your bracket and bring it to any Mr. Chubby's Wings during Live Madness games. Get a free Miller Lite for each game you pick right. Top prize Saturday passes to Welcome to Rockville.
Transform your bathroom with stunning shower glass from Sky Glass Solutions in Jacksonville Beach. For a free quote, call 904-608-5151 or visit skyglasssolutions.com.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
This is Mark Nato. My sons and I have seen the doctors and PAs at Southeast Ortho for everything from lumbar spine stress to elbow tendonitis. Southeast has always been there, been truthful, and always been on point. Everything they say happens. We can't thank them enough for what they've done and the great care that they have taken of our sons.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks with you. We have a very special guest awaiting for us on the other side. We will chat with Seth Greenberg, former college basketball head coach, now, of course, on ESPN. So I want to get to the Vikings news quickly before we talk to Seth. The Vikings basically were in talks with Aaron Rodgers to be maybe the starting quarterback for this season as a bridge year, another year for J.J. McCarthy since he was out all last season with the torn ACL. And as it turns out, the Vikings have no interest in Aaron Rodgers. They said thank you, but no thank you. And J.J. McCarthy will be the starting QB1 for the Vikings this upcoming season. Wherever Aaron Rodgers lands, whatever, we don't care that much about that. Do you think that because we trust Kevin O'Connell and his offensive acumen, that whoever he was going to choose as the starting quarterback to replace Sam Darnold was going to be the right decision?
I think that ultimately, I don't want to close the book. I mean, not that I have any intel on this, but Aaron Rodgers also was quoted saying today that he's in no rush, and I don't blame him. And I think if you're the Minnesota Vikings, considering the work that Kevin O'Connell was able to do last season with Sam Darnold and reinvigorating his career and, quite frankly, getting him paid, if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, and the report right now from Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network is that, well, yes, the belief is that J.J. McCarthy is their starter next year. They do want to add a veteran. And so if you're Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Minnesota, Pittsburgh, New York, you're okay to sit idly by right now. I mean, how many veterans have we seen in the last few years who don't sign with a team until October, let alone at the end of training camp, not only to avoid having to maybe face those hot summer workouts, but also because they're waiting for a team that's desperate enough to give them a call and give them even more money. And he has the leverage in that situation. And so that's where I wouldn't rule it out completely. Personally, I have no intel on the subject. And while, yes, I know NFL Network is reporting, hey, there's no traction to this. He's not meeting with them. I believe it. But also, I think they could easily go out if J.J. McCarthy's spring, you're suddenly raising your eyebrows and saying he's not the guy, and they'll go address the position and find another veteran.
Yeah, I think, number one, Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings would have been hilarious, though, just because of, like, the Brett Favre
it's his
path
destiny.
of two that would have happened. But I do think that they've seen, number one, a decline from Aaron Rodgers, but number two, the personality adds some negativity into the locker room, and I think that the Vikings have been pretty good about avoiding those type of situations. Anytime there's been some sort of turmoil whatsoever, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, they've gotten rid of some players that maybe people thought they were crazy for, but they've brought in and they've been able to just kind of keep going and chugging along, and they've built a really good locker room. And when we're talking about culture and all of that stuff, that's something that Minnesota has been focusing on, especially under KOC. So I do think that even with Brian Flores, that was one of the things that a lot of people kind of questioned because of the stuff that happened in Miami. And they took him and said that it felt like he had kind of this learning experience in between then, and they took a shot and it looked like it worked. But I do think when it comes to their quarterback, I think Kevin O'Connell obviously can evaluate talent. He can develop guys. He can bring the best out of guys. It helps when you have a Justin Jefferson and a Jordan Addison and a run game and a pretty good defense too. All of those things help. So I don't think they need some right away top tier quarterback to come in and still find success. But I do think that this shows how much they like J.J. McCarthy, and we were hearing that even in camp last year of how much that they really already early into camp were seeing signs that they believe J.J. McCarthy should be the starter. A lot of people were saying they still had a feeling that Sam Darnold would start, but eventually J.J. would probably end up in, and then injury happened. But it will be interesting to see what they kind of do behind that, because I do think you're taking a bit of a gamble, and you got rid of a guy who won you a good amount of football games last year, and then towards the end it kind of started to come back to earth a little bit for Sam Darnold. At the same time, there was a lot of moments during the season last year. Every time somebody thought Sam Darnold was done, he would have another game where you're like, okay, never mind. Like, maybe Sam Darnold is a changed person when it comes to being that player. So it will be interesting. But to me, this shows how much faith they have in J.J. McCarthy and how much they truly believe that he can be their next guy. And some of that I do think just lies on KOC having the faith in himself of being able to develop guys.
Jim Harbaugh once said that J.J. McCarthy was the best quarterback in the 2024 class. So,
and then he was the greatest quarterback in Michigan history. A guy named Tom Brady may disagree.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're Kevin O'Connell, you trust your instincts, you trust your gut. Maybe a Jameis Winston lands in Minnesota, somebody who knows he's not going to battle for that starting position. But if need be, he can certainly start.
Minshew's already in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Dang it.
I blacked that out.
Wanted Gardner Minshew to win a Super Bowl ring like all those other former Jags. All right, we will get it to college hoops on the other side. We're going to chat with Seth Greenberg, of course, used to coach Virginia Tech in men's college basketball. Chat all things college hoops with him on the other side on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Who are you? Bruce Wayne. He's not Fat Man. He's the fat man who isn't overweight. Fat Tony. Fat Tony. 10 to noon weekdays on 1010XL.
Jacksonville runs on dreams, and Haymaker Coffee is a local brand fueling the next generation. Keep each day strong with a Haymaker. Fuel for the morning hustle, the late night, and every step of the way. Bold flavors for the bold city. Online at haymakercoffeeco.com.
Call the deck guys if you want a brand new deck pavers or more. Call 904-813-2474.
TheDeckGuysJacks.com.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide all of their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional non-commissioned sales team put your best interests first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the excellent Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them online at HodgesMazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Twin Peaks Scratch Kitchen scores every time. Dig into hand-smashed burgers, chef-inspired flatbreads, and more at your local lodge.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Do you know someone looking for a fun and rewarding summer job? Join the YMCA team, gain valuable experience, and make a difference in kids' lives. Turn your passion for this community into a fulfilling career at the First Coast YMCA. Now hiring camp counselors, lifeguards, childcare leaders, and membership experience team. Every single person on the dedicated YMCA staff plays a role in making the Y a welcoming and vital resource for our community. Find your career at the Y at fcymca.org.
Equal opportunity employer.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers floral or plant arrangement. This is JJ with 1010XL, and no matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at kuhnflowers.com.
Lots of jewelry stores in the town center, but only one is locally owned, Beard's Diamonds.
We're the only local jewelry store at the town center.
That's Jacksonville's John Lupo, owner of Beard's for over 4 decades.
We're entrenched in Jacksonville, Florida.
In a sea of mega chain jewelers, John says it's easy to stand out because he's not handcuffed by a corporate handbook.
I am not beholden to a corporate structure, so we've got flexibility to do whatever we can and want, and we do.
And that includes lowering prices to undercut them every every day.
Quality for quality, color for color, everything the same. We should be able to beat them hands down by minimum 20%. We go overseas ourselves. We know exactly what we're buying. This isn't getting marked up in a corporate structure. We will beat anybody's price anywhere.
So before you buy anything at one of those chains, get a second opinion at locally owned Beard's Diamonds. No corporate atmosphere, no corporate rules, no corporate high markups.
We want you to come shop us and you'll see a lot better price here.
Beard's Diamonds.
Everybody gets a good deal at Beard's.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On March 19, 1989, at the PGA Players Championships, Tom Kite wins the title in windy conditions, one stroke ahead of runner-up Chip Beck.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic!
You're what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow. I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses. Whoa. Is that cooler?
Oh, yeah.
Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Join UF Health Jacksonville for their inaugural Golf Classic on Friday, April 25th at Amelia River Club. Sponsorships and foursomes are available. Visit ufhealthjacks.org/golf for details. See you on the course.
The hoops action continues on the first Friday of the tourney. Watch the madness with 1010XL and enjoy madness specials all day long. Starting with helmets and heels, live from Big Dog Sports Restaurant on Blanding. Then join XL Primetime at Barley and Pie in Fleming Island. The Frangie Show will be at String Sports Brewery in Jacks Beach, and finish the day with Into the Night with Rick Ballou and Hacker After Dark at Top Dog Tavern on Old St. Augustine Road. Now that's the way to celebrate hoop.
I can't believe it!
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood. What is a gemologist?
Frank, that's a good question because gemologist is a generic title that can be used by anyone, whether they have any gemological training or not. There's also a graduate gemologist, which is somebody that's taken the gemology courses of the Gemological Institute of America and received a diploma. Then there's a certified gemologist of the American Gem Society. They've received the graduate gemologist diploma, have worked in the jewelry business for a minimum of 3 years, and are tested by examination once a year to re-win the certified gemologist title. There's one other aspect that certified gemologists have that others might or might not have, and that's the accredited gemological equipment to be able to make the right grading calls on diamonds and other gemstones. At Underwoods, we have an American Gem Society accredited gem laboratory that our certified gemologists work in, assuring you the quality and value you deserve.
That's Underwoods, Florida's longest-standing member of the American Gem Society in San Marco, Avondale, the Shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwood Jewelers.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Seconds left, and here we go. This is where dreams are made. They're going for it all. Simpson, home run play, the deflection. Oh! .7 seconds left. Alabama State in front.
Does it count as a buzzer beater if there's less than 1 second on the clock?
I think that one counts because of how it happened. And if you weren't watching, Micah Simpson had a full court pass that somehow, it was basically a Hail Mary in the world of basketball.
Yes.
Somehow, some way, Amar Knox comes down with it, puts in the layup, and yeah, then there was about a second remaining and St. Francis loses 70-68 to Alabama State. It was such an exciting game.
I told you guys yesterday, every buzzer beater you will hear here on Helmets and Heels, because there is nothing greater than pairing it with the sonorous voice of Celine Dion and Titanic Hoops. I will workshop that for later in the program, but first, a very special guest joins us now here on Helmets and Heels. Seth Greenberg of ESPN, kind enough, despite car trouble this morning, against all odds, to give us a primer for this year's NCAA tournament. Seth, thank you so much for hopping on with us. We hope everything's okay.
Everything is good. All good. Got my car back. Life is good. No complaints.
All right. Well, we like to hear that, and hopefully your bracket is also looking good. I don't know, obviously, no first four necessarily. Doesn't necessarily affect the bracket just yet, but certainly an exciting one last night in Dayton and two more great games here tonight. Feels fitting to begin there in Dayton with the North Carolina Tar Heels, the other game last night in the first four, a team that so many believe should not be in the field. What do you make of what Hubert Davis's squad was able to do last night and what their odds are moving forward facing Ole Miss in the round of 64?
Well, what they did last night was they beat a team because they were better. I mean, quite and simple. Hubert getting his team ready to play. I thought they were terrific defensively. And when Carolina's good defensively, they get out in transition. And you saw R.J. Davis going for 26, 6 from the three-point line. I think the addition of Alan Lubin as a starter and Jalen Withers together has been a good combination. Like, here's the deal. Their resume didn't say they were an NCAA tournament team. That's just the way it is. But once the tournament begins, everyone is 0-0. Everyone's got a clean slate, and it comes down to matchups. And Carolina, surely, they're not the only team that if got into the tournament, they might have won a game. So, Carolina took advantage of the opportunity and played at a very high level and beat a well-coached San Diego State team. Not a great San Diego State team, a San Diego State team that can't really score, but it was a great win for Carolina.
Seth, I have not filled out my bracket yet, so I'm trying to absorb all of the information I can. When it comes to injuries, we've talked a ton about Cooper Flagg. He's ready to go, but there's some names, obviously. Malik Brown, his teammate, Alabama's Grant Nelson. We have Keyshawn Gilbert for Iowa State. Are there any guys right now that are kind of up in the air with injury or may miss that you think could affect things the most?
Well, Keyshawn Gilbert at Iowa State, I think, opens up an opportunity for this North Carolina team to get to a Sweet 16 potentially, which is pretty crazy to think about it. But they have a good matchup with Ole Miss. I do like Ole Miss. I do love Chris Beard and what he's done. But undersized team, small guard, small front court guys, that actually works in Carolina's favor. But if they win that game, a Keyshawn Gilbert-less Iowa State team is just not as good. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, like, when they've been down players, Iowa State, whether it's Momcilovic or it's been Curtis Jones and now obviously Keyshawn Gilbert, they're just a different team. So I think he's one of the bigger ones. And Malik Brown, we're talking about if they get to the Elite Eight, the Final Four, they're going to miss his experience for sure. But, there's been a lot of injuries in college basketball this year. It's not just been at the highest level, but there's been a lot of injuries, especially late in the season, that will impact lines, and it'll impact teams having a chance to advance.
Seth, I want to talk about the team that's near and dear to a lot of our listeners' hearts, the Florida Gators. What have you seen Todd Golden able to do between last year's group and this year's group as far as now a team that obviously a lot of people are picking not just Final Four, but to win the whole thing?
They defend. They didn't defend last year. I mean, they're a top 10 defensive efficiency team. They've got rim protection with Chinyelu. They've got a big forward defender in Condon and Houck. They've got 4 perimeter guys. Any one of those guys, I mean, now that Walter Clayton's defending, I mean, the other 2 guys, Will Richard, excellent defender, big size, long arms, athletic. Elijah Martin's been a huge addition because he brings a little grit and toughness to them. To me, Florida's the best team in the country right now. The way they're playing, the number of ways they can beat you, their size, their length, their depth, their pace, their force, their freedom. Todd did a great job, and what he did was he went and got multiple-year transfers, not one-and-dones, not rentals, but excluding Elijah Martin, every one of those guys, whether it's Hand-Logden, whether it's Walter Clayton, whether it's Will Richards, those guys that have been there for multiple years and are bought into the culture. And that is really, really important if you try to develop an identity and a program, having continuity, and they have that.
You can find him on X at Seth on Hoops. Seth Greenberg of ESPN, kind enough to join us here on this Wednesday on Helmets and Heels. Seth, let's stay with the Florida Gators, because watching the selection show, watching bracketology, watching all the programming over the last few days, I've expressed it to both Lauren Taylor and our listeners as well. It makes me nervous because I'm with you. I believe right now Florida is the deepest team. It is the toughest team in the NCAA tournament field. But at the same time, it feels like everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, and little old UConn and Dan Hurley could be lurking. You did predict, though, you think Oklahoma is going to actually get past the two-time defending national champs and await the Gators in the round of 32. Why is that?
Well, Dan Hurley's a dear friend. I go over watch them practice all the time, but they struggle guarding the ball at point of attack. And if you're going to play Oklahoma, you're playing against Jeremiah Fears. You're playing against Miles. You're playing against, Kobe Elvis. I mean, you're playing against three, what I call ball guards, scoring point guards. They play three guys that can break you down and get in the lane and make a play. That's the Achilles heel of the UConn defense. So, I mean, it's just not a great matchup. I was talking to Tom Izzo this morning, and we're talking, the tournament's all about matchups. It's all about matchups. It's about, can a team impose their identity, and can they impose and get you, find your Achilles heel? And right now that's been UConn's Achilles heel. Now, can they win the game? Sure, they can win the game. Dan Hurley's a savant, and what they do offensively is hard to guard. But, and the but is this real simple, is that's the problem they've had all season long, keeping the ball out of the lane.
So with that said, Seth, do you like the matchups for Florida, whether it's UConn or Oklahoma in that round of 32, if it is Maryland in the Sweet 16, and whoever comes out of the bottom of the Western Regional?
Yeah, I do like Florida. And Maryland's an interesting case because they got Derek Queen and they got the Crab Five. They basically have no depth, but those five starters are as good as any. They got a physicality in their backcourt. Jacoby Gillespie's been a really good addition to them. Rodney Rice has played very, very well in the last month of the season. But I still think Florida's the most complete team in the country. And it's hard to argue with that. Just in terms of, like I said before, the force and the pace and the freedom, the unselfishness that they play with, the number of different guys that can make a play, make a shot, and impact winning. They've been incredibly impressive. The speed they come at you with is next level.
One of the names we've mentioned on this show a lot who seemed to have a whole lot of fun this season is Rick Pitino. And we've talked about that St. John's team, the defense being really good, maybe not so much of a shooting team. Do you think that defense can carry them through in Pitino's energy?
Well, they're all about it. And a really good backcourt. They don't shoot it well enough. They've shot it well down the stretch, but Kadari Richmond in a late game short clock situation is hard to keep out of the lane. R.J. Lewis playing in that two-man game with Kadari Richmond's hard to deal with. Zuby Ejiofor is a beast on the glass, and it makes it easier for him because Richmond gets in the lane so much. It puts the defense in rotation. When the defense is in rotation, you have angles to rebound the ball. So, yeah, I don't think they're a Final Four team. I don't think they're better than Florida. But they're a worthy opponent because of how hard they play, and that backcourt is big and physical.
Seth, a lot of people point to Leitner's shot in 92 against Kentucky. Obviously, to have Duke win it all as one of the most important shots. But I feel like for you, one of your favorite memories has to be in 2023 with your alma mater, right?
Harvard on the Hackensack. I'll tell you one thing, that was a pretty good win for and Tobin Anderson, who coached there and won that game, he's just let go by Iona in maybe one of the most ridiculously insane and stupid decisions by an administrator I've ever seen. The Iona president and the athletic director should be ashamed of themselves. They're a joke. That guy's a really good coach, Tobin Anderson, and a really good guy. And I just hope, most importantly, he gets every single stinking dime they owe him.
Amen to that, Seth. I couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, it's an indictment on, I think, where college athletics, let alone college basketball, is. And unfortunately, our time with you is so short, but leave us with this. Who is the trendy double-digit seed who you believe will perhaps make a run in this year's NCAA tournament, whether that's Sweet 16, dare I say Final Four, or even just a big upset headed to the round of 32?
Yeah, well, first, before I do that, I'd say Michigan is one of the teams that could bust open a bracket, especially Auburn's bracket, which is an incredibly difficult bracket. In terms of a deep run, VCU could be a sneaky one if they get by BYU. VCU, Ryan Odom, the coach there, was my former assistant. They start 4 fifth-year seniors. Jack Clark played in the NCAA tournament last year. Max Chuga is a big-time shot maker. Joe Bamasil is another guy that can just score. Zeb Jackson started at Michigan, another fifth-year guy, 6'5", can really guard. They could be dangerous, old, and they've got rim protection. So, maybe I'm selfish when I say that because I obviously want to see one of my former assistants do well, but they're a dangerous team.
Hey, listen, an 11 seed has made the Sweet 16 in 15 straight tournaments, I believe the number is, Seth. So not a bad pick by any stretch of the imagination. I actually had someone in the office ask me this morning, BYU or VCU, and I said that may end up being one of the best games of the round of 64. Seth Greenberg of ESPN, thank you so much for taking some time with us here on this fine Wednesday.
My pleasure. Thank you. Enjoy the tournament.
And again, you can find Seth on X at Seth on Hoops, and of course across all ESPN's platforms and programming throughout the next 3+ weeks.
Yeah, once coached at USF, then Virginia Tech, and went to Farley Dickinson. In case people don't remember that Farley Dickinson, was the second 16 seed to ever upset a number 1 seed when they upset Purdue a couple years ago. So exciting stuff for him.
That was wild.
Seth mentioned, I asked him about Todd Golden and what's the difference between last year's team and this year's team. And obviously he brought up defense because Florida wasn't a great defensive team last year. And this year, certainly they've played so much better. But
what's been the biggest thing
real
to
quick,
you?
I was just going to say, here's what's crazy. Florida's the 3rd best team as far as points per game in the country, behind Duke and Gonzaga. Behind Alabama and Gonzaga. Florida obviously has beaten Alabama. So, yes, you can talk about the defense, and I'll answer your question in a second, Taylor. But this is also one of the best offensive teams in the country, which is why they're so dangerous and so many people
Which helps because I do think that takes pressure off of your defense when the team can score the way that they've been scoring, too.
Sure. I think that Elijah Martin and Ruben Chinyelu, the additions of them, really changed how this team could play defense. And we've talked about Michael Hanlogton returning from the medical red shirt enables them to have more fouls to give. But there's a toughness like I talked about yesterday, like Seth Greenberg just talked about with Elijah Martin. He's not going to back down to anyone.
Yeah.
And if there's ever going to be, somebody getting somebody's face because they don't like the way somebody's playing, Elijah Martin is going to be that guy, and he fires this team up. And then Ruben Chinyelu is just a beast out there on the court. And so it's hard to try and, keep him away from the rim. Like he said, a great rim protector, but really on both sides of the court. And so to me, the additions of both of them, and then I think also another year in Todd Golden's system, and them just buying in that you can't just want to play offense. Yeah. I feel like Mike White being the head coach at Florida for so long, it was such a defensive-minded thing. And so it took a little while for Todd Golden to really sink his teeth into how he wanted to be able to do it.
Don't want to put the cart before the horse, but also a great note there by Seth regarding the Crab Five of Maryland. The starting 5 that plays the most minutes of any team in the field. Kevin Willard doesn't go to his bench all that often. And that, I think, for me, Lauren, in addition to the commitment to defense, in addition to winning in the margins, that's the other reason that Florida is the favorite for so many in this year's NCAA tournament. Because when you can, well, not only fresh legs, Alex Condon could get into foul trouble, and it's not the end of the world. You've got 3 or 4 other guys who, well, yes, maybe aren't as efficient in the scoring department, but that you can roll out there in the front court. That is a luxury compared to most of the other teams in this year's tournament.
Absolutely. And then you've also got those guys who are able to hit threes at times. Not every time by any means. They're probably not even 50%, Florida's bigs, from 3 by any means, but they've got guys that in critical moments, like Thomas Houck did against Tennessee on Sunday in the SEC Men's Championship, he hits the 3 that, in my opinion, really was able to keep Tennessee at bay. And so that's also helpful. Like when you can...
Those big moments when you need it.
Yeah, when you can require your big guys to hit those shots, like that's really impressive. And so, look, if Florida doesn't win it all, it won't be... a shock to the entire world because there are so many good teams. Like a lot of people think this is the deepest as far as the top 10 to 12 teams that we've ever seen in the NCAA tournament. Like the best 10 to 12 teams we've ever seen. So it won't be a shock. But certainly Florida has a lot of the
like
elements.
8 being SEC.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There's just not one weakness that you can point to for Todd Golden's team. And with Duke, obviously, Mia, you could speak to it more. If Cooper Flagg's able to play, what's a big weakness for Duke? I don't know that they have one either.
No. And again, I think that the thing for Duke that shocked me at the ACC tournament was I had no idea how deep John Shire's bench was until Cooper Flagg went down. And all of a sudden it's all right. Well, at the very least, the front court's going to have to be by committee. Because Malawach, not that I think he's grown throughout the course of the season. We forget this is an 18-year-old freshman who starred for South Sudan in the Olympic process over the summer, almost beat the United States back in June, July. Like people forget that he was the youngest player on the floor. And people also forget that Cooper Flagg was part of the U.S. training camp leading up to the Olympic cycle, and he was beating up on NBA players. And so that's where I think, you look at this in the diaper dandy, the tantalizing talent, sure, but the depth for me and the veteran leadership that you do have in Tyrese Proctor, the fact that you did have Malik Brown, again, we'll see exactly what his status is. That's where if you go back to the 2015 Duke team that won the national championship, everyone wants to talk about the 3 first-round picks that were at the top of that roster. But ultimately, and especially because none of the 3 of them actually panned out in the league, but that team also had four-year seniors.
Yeah.
And that was obviously much more of a common practice back in 2015 than it is now. But I think that that's what's so interesting about college basketball, and we can bring that back to college football as well. Nate Oates, the head coach at Alabama, has noted that when you're building a team now in 2025, it needs to be a 4x4. And when he says that, what he means, you have your 4, if you're lucky enough, 4 or 5-star freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
You have your 4 core. These are college guys, right? Maybe they'll go to the league at some point, but they are here to play college basketball. Then you have your 4 transfers, whether they are, as Seth Greenberg alluded to, a Walter Clayton Jr., where you bring him in after his sophomore year and he's with you throughout the duration of his career, or if they are 1-year rentals. And then finally, the final 4 is your walk-ons, your bench guys, your depth guys.
Yeah.
That is how you have to view building a roster in 2025, but still very important to have those 4 senior veteran guys, or 5 or 3, but you get what I'm getting at. And that for me was so interesting to hear, because I think that ultimately you also look back a decade ago in the practice of one and done, Mike Krzyzewski moving to the system of John Calipari of I'm just going to go out and get as many 5 stars as I can. It's a 1-year build. Well, now when we hear Matthew Driscoll, when we hear Jordan Mincy, we hear these mid-major coaches talk about how they're building a team for 1 season and not 4. Coach K and company were doing that, albeit with much more equity in terms of what they could spend. They weren't spending then. Don't worry, they weren't buying players then. Much more of what they could do out on the open market, so to speak, comparatively to what mid-majors have. But this idea of like building for 1 year versus building a program, I think that you still are seeing these teams that recognize the value of having veteran players.
Well, when he was just talking about the Malik Brown and how important that could get the deeper you get into the tournament, because having the guys with the experience that have been playing, this is his year 4. So I think that having that mixture of guys is important, and I think that's part of what we're seeing at Florida too, though.
Just because I want RJ to get a laugh. Well, RJ, let's get you in on this conversation. You did such a wonderful job booking Seth Greenberg for us. Tyus Jones, he's had a nice little career. He was who I predicted would be the best of that 2015 national championship Duke team in terms of NBA talent. Jahlil Okafor, Justice Winslow, any of these? Marshall Plumlee, there's your guy, RJ. There's your guy.
Marshall Plumlee.
We got Grayson Allen. I mean, I know there's at least one Providence fan out there who's upset with me that I forgot to mention the biggest freshman, the most sensational on that national champion team. Of course, the pride of the Providence school. I mean, Emil Jefferson was on the team. Quinn Cook is the prime example, though, of what I'm talking about. He was a 4-year player who has transitioned to being a rotational guard in the NBA, but he played all 4 seasons at Duke, and I think that makes a world of a difference, especially in his case, where he also did a prep year at Oak Hill Academy, and so he was an older senior. You still see that, and there is still value to it, even with the sport vastly different than where it was a decade ago.
Todd Golden was on SportsCenter last night. I'll let you hear from him. Also want to run some upsets by y'all as far as the brackets are concerned. We got a lot to do on this Wednesday afternoon. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010X on 2.5 FM.
I want rustlers, cutthroats, bounty hunters, desperados, nitwits, halfwits, dimwits, bushwhackers, hornswagglers, horse thieves, train robbers, bank robbers, ass kickers. I want
1010XL.
That's it. He's not bluffing. Consider it done.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Poker players, the Run Good Poker Series is taking over Best Bet Jacksonville from April 24th to May 4th. Brace yourself for 10 action-packed poker events, including the $1,200 main event with an incredible $300,000 guaranteed prize pool. Event number 1 kicks things off with a $400 no-limit hold'em tournament featuring a $200,000 guarantee. Want your shot? Win your way in through satellites. Your seat is waiting for you in the Run Good Poker Series at Best Bet Jacksonville. Visit bestbetjacks.com for tournament structures and details. That's bestbetjacks.com.
The college basketball playoffs are here, and there's no better place to catch the action than at Hurricane Grill and Wings. With slam dunk specials like $3.75 Miller Lite drafts, plus fresh, never frozen wings in over 30 flavors, and big screens everywhere. This is your home for all the games. Cold beer, handcrafted cocktails, bold flavors, big plays. Don't just watch the games, experience them at Hurricane Grill and Wings. Find your spot at hurricanewings.com.
Do you have clicking, popping, swelling, or pain in your knee or shoulder? This can be due to arthritic changes in your joints. Over time, you have wear and tear of your cartilage. I am Dr. George Bari, and here at Bari Orthopedics, we have numerous ways to treat your arthritis, such as regenerative medicine, including PRP and joint replacements with CT guidance for accuracy down to the millimeter. If you are experiencing any of these symptoms, call us for an appointment today, or log on to BariOrthopedics.com.
Find out more at BariOrthopedics.com. That's BAHRI Orthopedics.com.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Florida heat is no joke. Is your air conditioner ready for it? At Duck Duck Air Conditioning, we've got a crazy offer just for you. We're giving away free AC inspections to our wonderful customers who now call and schedule. One of our expert techs will come look at your AC unit and make recommendations to ensure it's running at peak performance. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. Duck Duck Air Conditioning. DuckDuckAC.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. This free agency profile is brought to you by Universal Roof and Contracting. Experience the universal difference.
Former Vikings tight end Johnny Munt is headed to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Although his receiving numbers as a tight end don't jump off the screen, it's what he does as a blocker that makes him such a key contributor on rosters. When it comes to getting the Jaguars offense back on track, the running game is going to play a key role. And rest assured, they'll look to Munt's elite blocking ability to help the Teal and Black in their run attack.
Transform your bathroom with stunning shower glass from Sky Glass Solutions in Jacksonville Beach. For a free quote, call 904-608-5151 or visit skyglasssolutions.com.
There's a lot on the line in a divorce. Your home, savings, maybe even your kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce and the unexpected directions it can take, you need a partner you can count on. I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. Don't let divorce take more than it has to.
Offices in Jacksonville. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's attorneys. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Rick Julius, licensed in Pennsylvania only. Online at CordellCordell.com.
Reclaim a pain-free life with Rebound Rehab. If you've been injured or simply feeling the effects of an active life, you can rely on Rebound Rehabilitation to get you back in the game. Sitting on the sidelines isn't any fun. Trust Rebound Rehab's team of trained physical therapists to get you back up to speed and feeling full again. Now more convenient than ever. 11 locations to serve you, including new offices in Riverside across from St. Vincent's, Point Meadows, and Middleburg. Just log on to reboundrehab.com to see all they've got to offer.
This is Molly
Donald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update, brought to you by Lone Pronto. As the Florida Gators get ready to go dancing in March Madness as the #1 seed, head coach Todd Golden spoke yesterday to the media on what the key will be as they enter the tournament.
Love going to Raleigh. Obviously, closest venue for us. Able to stay on the Eastern time zone, which I think is important. As far as the bracket goes, every bracket is really good, right, at this point. And so I think for us, the key, we're just focused on this first weekend. Doing everything we can to prepare for Norfolk State on Friday. And if we're fortunate enough to get past them, preparing for UConn or Oklahoma, whichever opponent we see. And then if we're able to find a way to win these two, then we'll worry about the rest of the bracket after that.
The Gators are in North Carolina Friday night, taking on Norfolk State. Listen to the game live on 10:10 a.m. Stay tuned in to 1010XL all day Thursday and Friday for all your March Madness updates. It's 77 degrees at 12:59. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Seth Greenberg of ESPN for joining us, former college basketball head coach. A lot of good stuff there on the Florida Gators. We'll get that out on the social platforms shortly. Amy O'Brien is here, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. And speaking of March Madness, make sure you come and hang out with us tomorrow at Hurricane Grill and Wings in San Marco. And on Friday, we'll be in Orange Park / Middleburg. It's kind of in between as we go to Big Dog Sports Restaurant there and watch all the games. All right, so let's
Can I ask you a quick question.
Go for it.
Is it Raleigh? It's Raleigh, right?
Yeah,
Not Raleigh.
Raleigh.
I keep hearing people say Raleigh, and I'm like, I don't think that's how you
Southerners
say
struggle
it.
with a lot of things. Specifically, cities like that. Like people say Louisville wrong all the time, just because they say Louisville, and I do think that's just like a Southern thing of
Just not
looking
being
at
able
the
to
word,
accent.
and then the
Darius
accent
Rucker
coming
says,
in.
I think he just said Raleigh, and I was like, have I been saying it wrong?
Put on your rally caps is how you
it's
say
different than
Raleigh, and then Raleigh is how you say North Carolina.
Darius Rucker says, if I die in Raleigh, therefore that's what it is.
Darius Rucker's the way to go.
Yes, I trust Darius Rucker and how he pronounces Southern cities.
Although that's not his original song, so he had to do it the same way Old Crow Medicine Show did
Still,
I love the original, so I always have to mention it when people mention Darius Rucker singing.
601 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, which of course you can get in on the conversation at 904-641-1010, has his/her picks for upsets. Yale over A&M in the NCAA tournament. Grand Canyon also a winner over Maryland. Utah State over UCLA. Wisconsin to the Final Four. I'm here in this 1 o'clock hour. The Heeligans texting in their upsets, their picks ahead of the tournament tipping off at 12:10. The round of 64 tipping off tomorrow at 12:10 p.m. while we are at Hurricane Grill and Wings. That's a lot of upsets, though. I'm not going to lie, ladies. This is the problem with March.
Let's get Foye in here.
We get there has been some communication there. We get so addicted to the idea of upsets and how much fun they are. But the reality is we're only going to see a handful of them, and we need to cherish them while we can.
That's why you got to pick the right ones. We're going to run through some upsets here in a second, but let's hear from Todd Golden. I thought this was interesting, something he learned from last year's loss in the SEC championship, and then as far as planning differently for this year.
You're on a plane, making the announcement. What was that flight like after you guys rolled through the SEC, win the tournament, and now you know you're a one?
Well, we were trying to learn from last year. Last year, we played in the championship game and fell a little short to Auburn, and we stayed in Nashville to watch the show, and we didn't get home until 1 or 2 o'clock, and we were pretty fatigued. So this year, we knew we were going to be in, and we're like, let's just make sure we get back as fast as possible. And we ended up taking off about 5 minutes before the selection show started. So fortunately, our pilots were great. They were communicating with air traffic control, and they were able to get us our first round matchup, and we announced it to the team that way. It was a pretty special moment.
That's how you know you're doing something right. Mm-hmm. You get on the plane a lot earlier than you did a year ago, but also the pilots are in conversations with air traffic control, and then to make sure you can tell your team you are a number 1 overall seed.
I love it. It reminded me, as soon as I saw this video, it reminded me of, because I was in the air on a flight from here to Chicago when the Cubs were in the World Series, and it was the same thing. The pilots were updating us on the score. And it was
pilots are people too.
Yeah. And they were like, all right, it's the top of the second. There's runners on first and third. The Cubs are up 1-0, and the whole plane's just like going nuts. But so as soon as I heard that story, it reminded me of it. But yeah, I mean, I think that is when you talk about Todd Golden, and we've discussed this a lot of what he's learned from last year to this year, and we talk about the defense playing better, but I do think there's a lot of things throughout the season that every time you felt like maybe something was starting to catch up a little bit with Florida, he would adjust and figure it out. And that's one of my favorite things that I've been able to see, and from afar, not being a Gator fan, watching Todd Golden and the Gators, is the adjustments and them just keep picking on. Like when someone gets injured, no worries. When we were talking about some of the issues early, yeah, there were worries for a second, but barely. I mean, the moment we'd say, oh no, and then it was like nothing ever happened.
Lauren, I know we kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday with Zach Alberverdi of Gators Online.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think last year's first round upset loss to Colorado was a talking point for the Gators at this juncture?
I don't know that they're necessarily focused on the loss itself, because, like I said, the emotion of that whole experience between losing Hand Logton to that broken leg, that gruesome injury, losing to, in the SEC championship, and then, yes, losing to Colorado in the first round. I think that they don't focus on the game itself because this is such a different team than last year. Does Todd Golden absolutely mention we don't want to go home Friday night?
Right.
Sure. There are lots of guys, obviously, who were on this team last year who experienced that. But to me, again, the emotion of what they were dealing with, and last year's team couldn't replace, to your point about injuries,
right,
Taylor, and being able to overcome those. Last year's team couldn't replace that. And just, I do think that he has this team actually more focused on keeping the noise out of you're a number one seed, you're picked to win the tournament by all of these different analysts. Like, I think he has to kind of keep that at bay because, as we all know, all of these guys, they're on social media. They do TikTok videos after every game that they win. So dance videos, which are great, but they see all of the things. And so he wants to keep them, I think, more focused on the task at hand rather than reading their press clippings. And so I do think that he has the staff to be able to kind of hone them in on that, and they know how important this is. And anyone can beat you in the tournament.
Yeah.
Do I think Norfolk State is going to win as Florida's a 29-point favorite? Most likely not. But crazier things have happened.
The BPI is giving them a 3% chance. I saw it on the bottom line last night, and I was like,
3%.
Oh,
So
wow, I'm a little surprised.
They're like, heck yeah, we got a chance.
Honestly, if I'm being honest, I'm blaming Virginia in 2018, and I am blaming Purdue in 2022 for that. Like, this is all your fault.
Yeah.
Because previously, if you were a 1 seed going up against a mid-major 16 seed, it was like less than 1%.
Yeah.
But no, now we live in a world where we recognize that it has happened twice before in history, including twice in the last 7 years, and it could happen again.
And you do not want to be the third team to let that happen.
No.
It also is really interesting to me, Lauren, because we've talked so much, like how both Florida football and Florida basketball's issues last year when it came to defense were glaring on both ends.
Sure.
And then both this year, it took Florida football a little bit longer, but halfway through the season, you really started seeing a big change. And then Todd Golden's done the same thing for the basketball team, too.
I'm excited to hear what Lauren's upsets are, but yes.
I was going to say Gator Boys. If Gator fans haven't watched that yet, it's done by the Gators, and it's going through the, not really documentary, but it's short little videos going through this season as far as the Florida men's basketball team is concerned. And it pays homage to the 04s, the 06, 07 national championship teams, because they always called themselves the Gator Boys. And it shows their off-season conditioning workouts. My goodness. Like, that, I think, is also why the defense is better. Because I think Todd Golden and his staff ramped up those off-season workouts. And by the way, if you're a Gators fan, or if you just love stats, if you don't follow Denver Parlor on X, he constantly gives out amazing stats that I feel like no one else has researched. So follow him on X, and you'll certainly learn more. All right. So
head of athletic communications for the University of Florida. I wanted to hit a couple off the YouTube chat line before we hear the upset picks that you're going to run through for us, Lauren. Hef says that his round of 32 upset is Mississippi State to the Sweet 16 over Duke. Robert up in Pittsburgh says he's going big, a 15 over a 2. Robert Morris over Alabama. Robert, you're not the first to say that, because I've seen a couple people note that Robert Morris, it's going to feel like a pseudo home game because they will play in Cleveland. And I've seen that one, and while it's tantalizing, and while to Taylor's point earlier with Seth Greenberg, we don't know the status of Grant Nelson and if he will be healthy for that game this weekend, I just keep coming back to, and I know there's some of you who disagree, including some of our coworkers here at 1010XL, Alabama has a roster that is so deep and has so many rotational pieces. Again, literally just gave you how Nate Oates built the team, the 4x4, the 12-player roster. And that's where I look at, well, yes, losing your leading scorer, if only for 1 or 2 games, is significant. I just think that they have the bodies. And while they may not be as physical as Florida, they're on that other side of the bracket.
Yes, Alabama's a team that I think a lot of people would be more high on if the way that the season, especially the losses to Florida down the stretch, had gone a little differently. I think, same with Auburn. I feel like people are almost forgetting about Auburn at this point in time because they lost 3 out of 4 to end the season. And so people, obviously, when it comes to brackets, you're always looking for bracket expertise and advice, Taylor. You always look at how the end of the season goes for these teams. And so speaking, one of those teams, Colorado State, enters the tournament on a 10-game winning streak. So a lot of people, as far as we know, 12-5s are always a fun pick. Colorado State is the 12 seed. Memphis is the 5 seed. A lot of people say that Colorado State, and they are a slight favorite, by the way, so Vegas knows something. They're going to take Colorado State over Memphis as the 12-5. Mia, tell us about Nick Clifford.
No, you mean, Nick Clifford. I thought you were going to say Nico Medved, because I think if you're a Colorado State fan, you want to keep winning. Although if you keep winning, Nico is just inching further and further to a guarantee to take the vacant position at Minnesota, where he is from, or the University of Iowa. I think that ultimately that matchup's going to be interesting because Memphis, much like Florida, Penny Hardaway had to take a long look in the mirror this past offseason and say, well, yes, we are known for our offense. And while it's exciting that I'm bringing in PJ Haggerty, I'm bringing in Tyrese Hunter from Texas, started his career at Iowa State, I need to get tougher defensively. Ultimately, I think the reason that Vegas is favoring the Rams has a lot to do with what people believe is a lack of depth in the American Athletic Conference, which is crazy to hear because that was a 3 or a 4 bid league not too long ago. Granted, that was when UCF and company were in the conference. Colorado State, though, is coming from a Mountain West conference that, as we saw last night on full display with San Diego State, outside of the Aztecs' run to the national championship 2 years ago, has barely won any games in the tournament. And while the Mountain West is a 5 bid league this year and Colorado State won their tournament, ultimately, it's a fascinating game for many reasons, but it's also a game that I look at, and if this Crab 5 of Maryland that everyone says is so good, and I've watched lots of Maryland games, but I also come back to this is a Maryland team that has lost 5 games by 1 possession or less down the home stretch of the season. They kept getting beat on buzzer beaters, most notably by Michigan State on their senior day. And so I look at that and I say that's a battle-tested team. That's a team who I say, contrary to Michigan, who won at the buzzer like 3 times in the last month and a half, I say that that's a team where at some point or another, the ball is going to have to bounce your way and the talent is going to meet the metrics and just the sheer luck factor that is the NCAA tournament. And so I don't care who comes out of Memphis or Colorado State. I think Maryland's going to rout them.
Well, I read, if you don't know about Nick Clifford yet, you soon will. He is must-see TV. Some people have him as a lottery pick, so I had not heard of him. I haven't watched any Colorado State basketball, so I wasn't sure if you had insight on him.
Yeah, no, I don't have a ton on him, but I could just tell you that what I think is so interesting, I think we kind of hit on this a little bit yesterday, and certainly we've talked about it with college football too, the number of teams that have a coach who could be on the move and does that 1 foot out the door mentality that we talk about in the media actually translate to the operation behind the scenes.
All right, we'll run through the rest of our upset picks in a little bit, but on the other side, we have a special guest joining us from UNF Track and Field. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Here's another look behind the microphone at 1010XL with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
I can't believe I put up with you for so many years!
Mornings on 1010XL.
You know what? I don't need you. Nobody comes to see you anyway.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round 1 of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored administrator, Everbank N.A.
It's Blue, and I couldn't see everyone else here at the station lose weight while I'm on the sidelines wishing mine away. I jumped on Awaken 182, and I mean weight loss every week, eating to lose weight, and then receive full support for life. What's not to like? Now, I didn't drop the double digits like Hacker did in week 1, but I'm down 4 pounds. I'll take that any day. The best part, Awaken 180 was actually easier than I expected. I'm not sure what I thought beforehand, but after just day 1, I was already in a groove. Wasn't hungry, more energy, and my coach Patrick is awesome. Gave me a couple of tips since I do sleep in and, of course, stay up late. And I'm off. I'm cruising through week 2 and loving it. You've heard all about Choose Awaken 180, all of us having success with Awaken 180. What do you have to lose? Only weight. Everything else to gain with the solution for weight loss. Reserve your March consultation today at awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminix it. At Terminix, they know how to stop termites just like they did at my house. These destructive pests may have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so does Terminix, and their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem. I certainly didn't want to. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Golf lovers, listen up. UF Health Jacksonville is bringing you an exciting day on the greens with their inaugural Golf Classic Friday, April 25th at Amelia River Club. It's your chance to tee up for a cause supporting Northeast Florida's premier academic health center while enjoying a top-notch golf experience. Sponsorships are available. Whether you're looking to showcase your brand or just play a great round of golf for a great cause, now's the time to get involved. Visit ufhealthjacks.org/golf to learn more.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Struggling with ED? Now Riddle Wellness has a solution that works. You've heard of PRP treatments for joint pain relief. That same technology is now available with the P-Shot, a non-surgical treatment for ED. Using your body's natural power, the P-Shot helps restore function naturally. No pills, no downtime, just results. Schedule a free consultation at elevatejacksonville.com and learn what the P-Shot can do for you. Riddle Wellness, your health, your confidence totally restored. Visit elevatejacksonville.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Get more Gators on the Gator Bites podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists with new episodes every Friday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL's Gator Bites podcast wherever you find podcasts and at 1010XL.com.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Looking for adventure? Need a machine that works as hard as you do? CF Moto has you covered. At Ride Now Beach Boulevard, we've got CF Moto ATVs and UTVs built for any task, any trail, anytime. Tear up the dirt with the trail-tested C-Force ATV lineup or conquer through terrain with a Z-Force UTV. Find your CF Moto ride today at Ride Now Beach Boulevard or visit ridenowbeachboulevard.com. ATVs and UTVs are for riders 16 and older. They can be hazardous to operate. CF Moto recommends an improved safety training course.
Hicken here. Beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get one room Zero Resified starting at $53. Take $100 off your air duct cleaning. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com and tell them 1010XL sent you.
Zero Res.
Florida Home AC wants to make sure you're super cool when things heat up and toasty warm when the temps drop. Indoor comfort for you all year long is what they're going for. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com to score great deals on an AC tune-up and keep the temperature perfect.
Find the middle of the fairway with your drives. Get the golf tips and talk to keep you straight.
That's a great tee shot.
On the Edwin Watts Golf Hour. The Edwin Watts Golf Hour. Saturday morning at 10 on 1010XL. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Wednesday edition of Helmets and Heels. Again, we'll be out and about tomorrow and Friday, so come and hang out with us. Hurricane Grill and Wings in San Marco tomorrow, and on Friday, Big Dog Sports, a restaurant. But now let's say hello to UNF's first team All-American for track and field, Smea Colby. Smea, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, how are you?
We're doing great, thanks. All right, so let's start at the beginning. How do you get from Germany to the University of North Florida?
Yes, after finishing high school, I wanted to come to the U.S. For the great sports system, and then lived in Mississippi first, and then transferred to UNF.
Love it. Awesome. Smea, for those who may be unfamiliar, of course, you are not only a part of the UNF track and field team, but you placed 5th in the 2025 Indoor Track and Field National Championships, the first team All-American in UNF history. And you also will, of course, be competing in the Outdoor Track and Field Championships later this year, hopefully to be in that championship, as well as the ASUN Championship. Walk us through your recruitment process. Like you said, you moved from Germany, you end up in Mississippi. Why UNF? Why was that the fit for you?
Yes, I was transferring and then looking for different schools, and my old head coach actually knew Coach Pig, the head coach from UNF for track and field and cross country, and said that he thinks that would be a great fit, and I trusted him and had a talk with Coach Pig, and then I decided to come here, and I love it. It's a great team, great program, great area, and I'm so happy that I chose to come here, and it's been going so well, and yeah, together we achieved a lot already, and I'm excited for everything that comes in the future as well.
Walk us through a little bit, because I know several people listening, and me, myself, don't know, I had not run track. So tell us, for maybe the non-track stars, what is going through your head as you were running? Because there's obviously a lot of things that you're focusing on when it comes to the awareness of people around you, your breathing, the distance, all of those things. So just walk us through a little bit what's going through your head when you are in a race.
Yeah. So, of course, you have some different goals going into the race. It's either going to be, get in the top 3 spots to qualify for the final, like this weekend, or run a fast time. So every time is a little bit different, but as you get better, you kind of want to be the actor in the race instead of just reacting to other people, because it is a lot of tactics in there as well. And so every time is a little bit different, but of course, you need to have some courage in those races. 800 meter is sometimes longer than you think. So it definitely has some mental aspects as well in it. And yeah, definitely in my head is probably, be aware of the people around you, keep pushing, stuff like that.
Smea, in this 800 meters, you came from way behind to finish 5th, which is so impressive. How did you know that you had that, last gas effort?
Yeah. When you get closer to the finish, you just want to, give everything you had. And I wanted to just be sure after that I gave it my all. And I was working a lot on my strengths over the winter. And, just gave it my all and tried to really compete to the finish line, which ended up helping me to make the final. So I'm really proud of that. And it gave me a lot of confidence going into the final as well.
And because she finished in 5th at that 2025 Indoor Championship, Smea Colby, the first NCAA first-team All-American in UNF history. Smea, what's so interesting for me is that with the sport of track and field, unlike, let's say, soccer or basketball, where certainly there's an off-season program, but your season ends and you have some time off. For you guys, you immediately now transition to outdoor track and field. So walk us through kind of what these next few weeks will be like for you, especially coming off the high of last week.
Yeah, so it's a short reset for sure. I'm in spring break right now. It's just a couple of days to get a little reset in. And then we honestly put the most focus to outdoor season just because the main events are happening outdoors. And so having such a strong indoor season already gives me great confidence. But we do try to keep the indoor season a little bit shorter, not too much traveling, just to not be burned out after this because, as you just mentioned, NCAAs are coming up again, which is a little bit harder to make outdoors because we have to go through different rounds. And then we have ASUNs again. And so I feel pretty confident, and I'm still excited to race, not burned out. So I think my coach is really smart with planning that. But, yes, it's definitely coming from one season to the next.
You just touched on it a little bit, but now that you are turning your attention to the outdoor season, how much different is that for you in preparation when you are preparing for the indoor season compared to that outdoor?
Yes, for outdoors, it's definitely where we try, or we planned this for me this year, that I definitely want to peak outdoors. It's a little bit easier for me to run. I'm really tall, and indoor is, smaller track, tighter curves and everything. And so in the winter, you definitely practice a lot of strength and longer stuff. And as you come closer to outdoors, you get more sharpened up for races. So you do more shorter reps, faster reps, more speed. And it's really exciting to see this whole process. And so this indoor season, all the races were a lot of based off strength. And so I'm really excited to see what's going to happen outdoors and, trying to bring down my time more.
A 4-time ASUN championship medalist in indoor, 2-time ASUN athlete of the week, 2-time ASUN scholar athlete of the year, and NCAA first-team All-American. Smea, we will be paying attention to your outdoor career. Good luck, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And go enjoy spring break, too, Smea.
Like a couple days.
Come on now. I'm going to give Nate some crap out here. Like
I already did.
Yeah, she's enjoying her spring break. She's coming off of an All-American finish. Come on now. Smea, I do want to let you know, one of our listeners who we refer to as Heeligans is apparently from Passau in Germany, and so wanted to know where you were from. I saw in your bio Hanover, right? That's your hometown?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, who would have thought? We've got Heeligans in Germany, and we've got a star from Germany on the UNF track and field team. Smea, thank you so much for hopping on with us.
Thank you so much.
All right, there she goes, Smea Colby. And really impressive. If you haven't watched the race, UNF Athletics, their track and field, put the video out. And it's a really interesting race in general, really tight pack. A lot of times that it is like that at indoor. But the girl who ends up winning, or the female who ends up winning the race, ended up almost falling early on. And so impressive that she was able to keep her feet. But like I said, you see Smea come from way in the back to actually end up crossing in 5th. And so impressive finish for her. All right, a few more upsets I want to run through. We've talked about the 11 seed Drake over number 6 seed Missouri. That's a popular one. Drake's top dog is Bennett Sturts. And it says, according to USA Today Sports, he's just like Colorado State's Clifford, who we just talked about, as being a do-it-all and ready for the moment on the big stage.
Yeah, and he came with Ben McCollum from D2 Northwest Missouri State, or Northwest Missouri Northwest, whatever it is.
One of those.
A directional Missouri. It's a directional Missouri school. I should know it, especially I was, telling Taylor this morning when I got into the office, the state of the Iowa coaching search right now. It is fascinating to me that there are universities, there are professional teams. Maybe it's because I've been here the last 6.5 years. Lauren, they have not had a coaching search for one of their 3 major positions at the University of Iowa, football, men's basketball, women's basketball, since 2008. It has been 15 plus years.
Imagine not having to look for a coach every 3 years.
I mean, it's kind of nice for the athletic director to not have
Definitely.
to,
Well-
but at the same time, you're seeing, I think, some of their teams that need some change.
And so McCollum is considered the front runner now, especially with Darren DeVries going to Indiana late last night from West Virginia. And Bennett Sturts is a bucket. And he's a guy who, again, came from Division II, pull-up jumper, runs the offense efficiently. Drake actually has the slowest pace of play in the NCAA tournament field. That's an interesting talking point right now because I think a lot of that, quite frankly, is just A, they're well coached, B, athletically, they can't compete compared to some of these other programs because all four of the starting five were playing Division II basketball last year. And so the fact that McCollum has them in the field, the fact that he got them to 30 wins this year, I think it's more of a testament to the system itself, and Bennett Sturts fits that perfectly.
Another one in this one, Heiligan mentioned number 13 Yale over fourth-seeded Texas A&M, and obviously Foye Oluokun, that's where we need his insight as to whether or not Yale can get the job done. Of course, Texas A&M coming from the SEC, that's one of the deepest conferences, if not the deepest we've ever seen. Yale has a sharpshooter named John Poulakidis, who apparently is really good, and so keep an eye on that one. I'll run through these. 11-seed Virginia Commonwealth, we just talked about this one with Seth Greenberg, over 6-seeded Brigham Young. In other words, VCU, BYU, that's a very trendy upset pick. UC San Diego over 5th-seeded Michigan as a 12-5. I don't see that happening because if Seth Greenberg likes Michigan, then I like Michigan.
Hey, but he's probably in the minority there because that one is, I've seen from multiple outlets, the most bet on upset in the field. That's because UC San Diego, this is their first year of being eligible for the Division I tournament. 30-plus wins this year. They are one of the fastest offenses in the country. They are among the top teams in the country across all 300-plus programs in Division I in terms of forcing turnovers. We saw in the Big Ten tournament final that Michigan handling the rock can be a bit of a question. At the same time, the Wolverines do have two forwards, I should say, over 7 feet tall. And that's where I think ultimately if Michigan is to have the upper hand, it's going to be because of the depth and the size in the front court.
For UC San Diego, the Tritons, Aniwaniwa, that's, I believe how you say his first name, Tate Jones.
Everyone's just been saying his last name.
Yeah,
Tate
the
Jones.
hyphenated last name, Tate Jones. He is their leading scorer. And then finally, the 13-seed Akron over the 4th-seed Arizona.
Yeah, that was a really fun MAC final because two brothers opposite each other in that MAC final, and so Akron gets the upper hand. They've been to the tournament a couple of times. Once again, and Seth Greenberg has noted this not just on our program here today, but he's noted it on multiple ESPN programs over the last few days, and I've seen it from so many other outlets as well. Again, it goes back to our conversation. There is still something to be said if you have tournament experience, and the Zips have that. They were in the tournament last year, and that's where I look at this and I say, you know what? It's a veteran squad going up against an Arizona team who, let's be real, Tommy Lloyd has won one tournament game in his 4+ years in Tucson. Arizona was the number one team in the country at different junctures over the last 4 years, and multiple people, multiple outlets have pointed out they peaked too early. And this year was most fascinating because so many people believe they were a top 10 team. And much like their, of course, headliner, Caleb Love, they're either hot or they're cold. And so they faded the month of November. They went from a 4-0 squad to I think it was like 4-5 or something like that. They've kind of reemerged here in the last month or so in the Big 12 race, made it to the Big 12 semifinals. But ultimately, this is an Arizona team that I can't trust just because Tommy Lloyd has not been able to get it done when the calendar flips to March.
All right, so we will be paying attention to all of those. Once again, the bracket can get busted starting tomorrow, really. I don't count the playing games as bracket busters, but certainly we'll be paying attention as we are live tomorrow and Friday. One segment to go. I'll give you our Terminex Pest of the Day, and we'll cool down a whole lot more on the other side on 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Catch the draft and accelerate to the checkered flag. Hey, Sunday at Miami. NASCAR is tuned up by Maxie's Mechanics on 1010XL.
You know, Mr. Chubby's Wings is giving away free beer again this year for the Madness Tournament.
Do they really give you a free pint of Miller Lite for each game you pick right?
Yes, all you got to do is fill out your bracket now at 1010XL.com. The overall winner gets tickets to Welcome to Rockville on Saturday. But for free beer, just download your bracket, print it out, and bring it into any Mr. Chubby's Wings location during the games. Every game you pick right, you get a free beer.
Go to 1010XL.com now. It's the free beer Chubby Madness Bracket Challenge. See Mr. Chubby's Wings Facebook for full contest details.
Winter clutter holding you back? Freshen up your home this spring with a custom organization solution from my friends at Closets by Design. Mia here for a limited time. Take advantage of their spring special. That's 40% off any order of $1,000 or more. 30% off any order of $700 to $1,000, plus an additional 15% off and free installation on any order of $850 or more. Call today to schedule your free consultation, 1-800-293-3744, or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
Get a healthy start in 2025. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to encourage you to get healthy and stay healthy this year. They have a dedicated team who are committed to providing quality care. The goal is to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Visit duval.floridahealth.gov to learn more about their health programs and services. That's duval.floridahealth.gov.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town. Setting the standard in our hometown. Quality service, the best around. Coolidge is the cat that cares about your heating and about your air. Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town.
Hey, this is David with Royal Pest Services. The fact that we've been bundled up the past month gave us an idea. Let's bundle up also with our Centricon and Pest Control bundle, starting at $349. Visit RoyalPestServices.com for your free inspection.
Navy Mutual would like to salute all Medal of Honor recipients that have been given our nation's highest award. In 1990, Congress designated March 25th as National Medal of Honor Day, and it was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
1010XL's running game takes a giant step forward.
Well, Fred Taylor is the whole package.
Fred Taylor joins Dan and Jeff on the drill. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins and Monahan Jewelers.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy-efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World,
simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Looking for a great place to enjoy some craft creations and soak up some scenery? Fernandina's Mocama Beer Company is a must-see and must-try. Nassau County knows it. Visitors need to find out about it. Mocama means near the big water where the sun is born. And if you visit their tap room in Fernandina Beach, you'll see how they've mastered equal parts precision and art in creating great flavors from IPAs to Pilsners, lagers, and sours, plus plenty more. Mocama.com, Mocama Beer Company. Start an adventure and find them in Fernandina.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about not looking at the rear-view mirror of unforgiveness. It's so easy to keep looking in the past when someone has hurt or offended us. What we don't realize that if we keep looking at the rear-view mirror of anger, it will cause us to miss out on the good things that God has in store right in front of us. Friends, looking in the rear-view mirror of the past will never give you peace in the present.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
Jacksonville runs on dreams, and Haymaker Coffee is a local brand fueling the next generation. Keep each day strong with a Haymaker. Fuel for the morning hustle, the late night, and every step of the way. Bold flavors for the bold city. Online at haymakercoffeeco.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Realize we've spent a lot of time, naturally, on the men's basketball tournament, which the round of 64 tips off tomorrow at 12:10. Again, we will be live at Hurricane Grill and Wings in San Marco. But especially if for no other reason than I know you guys love filling out brackets, was curious if anyone has filled out their women's tournament bracket. There is a women's tournament challenge on ESPN. I'm currently running a little pool. If you want to head over to my personal social channels, you can get in on that pool for the ESPN tournament challenge with my friends at OG Triangle Media. My final four reads as follows. Notre Dame, yes, Taylor, despite Niele Ivy's squad with a slide to end the regular season, despite maybe questions about Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles, can they sustain the success we saw through the first 4 months of the season? I do believe the Notre Dame Fighting Irish will make it to the Final Four in Tampa, Florida. Dawn Staley in South Carolina, USC, Juju Watkins, and NC State. My championship game pick. The Fighting Irish cut down the nets for the first time since 2018 over Juju and company. Again, the Final Four for the women's tournament is in Tampa, Florida, the weekend of April the 4th.
Let's go Irish. Let's go. Get a national championship somewhere.
There you go. That's the spirit. That's the spirit. And the first four on the women's side tips off this evening on ESPN Plus. So for those of you who are multi-TV fans, multi-TV setup households, get ready. You have that opportunity tonight with the first four and the men still ongoing in Dayton. And because I never want our Noles fans to feel like we leave them out, I will tell you this. Not only do I have Florida State upsetting Kim Mulkey and company in Baton Rouge this weekend and advancing to the Sweet 16 against NC State, but I've talked to a lot of folks in the women's basketball national space, and many people believe with the injury to Anissa Morrow, certainly Flau'jae Johnson was unavailable for the SEC tournament, will be available this weekend. LSU might be ripe for the picking. Can the Noles, Tania Latson, make a run? Would love to see that on the hardwood.
Yeah, I've said that I felt like that came off bad because I said a national championship somewhere, and the lacrosse is looking to three-peat. So let's not forget them.
There you go. We have some
Never
Fighting Irish Heeligans. Apparently, we have Heeligans in Germany, so we've certainly got some in the Notre Dame fandom community.
We were talking off the air about how the Jumbo Shrimp and the renovations for Vistar Ballpark are almost done. Well, if you have any interest in going to those games, make sure you get tickets because certainly the first few games typically sell out or come close to selling out. So that's going to be exciting.
It looks really good, too.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And we knew, of course, that it would because the ballpark already looked really good.
Yeah.
So any renovations were going to look even better. Terminix actually handles the pest control for Vistar Ballpark as well as Vistar Veterans Memorial Arena, Everbank Stadium, Daly's Place, all of your favorite event venues around town. They handle the pest control at my house as well. And certainly if you have any issues with pests or termites, visit them online at Terminix.com, Terminix.com. All right, the latest pest, the Terminix pest of the day, is a baseball player named Owen Hayes. Owen was at a dive bar in California. He's a baseball player for Santa Clarita. And he knocked out an 84-year-old regular at the dive bar. Yeah. He has since been arrested, and he's being held on $50,000 bail. Owen, it's fine to go to a dive bar as a college student, by all means. Taylor and I know for sure.
I love dives.
Love dive bars. Don't put me in a classy bar. Take me to a dive bar, usually with live music. That's my favorite. However, you can't get into an altercation with a man who's 84 and then slug him and knock him unconscious. Thankfully, the man is okay, although he had to be taken to the hospital. And this is the second baseball incident we've had because, of course, we had the other one with, well, no, that was golf with Rory McIlroy, but other college, college students.
Does it say what led to this? Like, what leads to you wanting to punch an 84-year-old grandpa?
Yeah, it doesn't say. It just says that they got into a heated confrontation. I feel like it had to be about sports because that's what typically happens in that scenario. But just don't punch the 84.
Who knows at dive bars, though? There's wild conversations that occur in some of the dive bars out there.
That is very true. Speaking of Florida State, last night in baseball, Florida State lost to Mercer 9-3. And look, midweek games are always wild in college baseball. We know that to be true. But still, surprising result there in Tallahassee. And then this weekend, a really good matchup between FSU at Miami. That one begins tomorrow, actually. That's a Thursday beginner at 7 p.m. UNF beat Bethune-Cookman last night 5-3. UNF is at Queens this weekend. And then Florida and JU went at it. Florida ended up winning 16-4 in 7 innings. So tough pitching for the Jacksonville University Dolphins. Really good hitting for Florida, who, of course, was swept by Tennessee this weekend. So I think Florida was a little bit angry following that.
Take it out on someone else.
Exactly. Florida plays host to Georgia this weekend beginning Friday at 6:30, and JU plays host to Stetson this weekend beginning Friday at 7 p.m.
Which I know Lauren doesn't do D1 baseball. You do Baseball America.
I do,
for your top 25. I have D1 baseball pulled up, though, so hopefully they're comparable. Tennessee, the number 1 team in the land, followed by LSU. Georgia is a top 5 outfit, as is Florida State. I bring this up because I saw that there were some Googans and some 1010XL listeners this morning tweeting at the Superstation demanding that Florida State baseball be brought up on 1010XL. Yes, Knowles fans, we see you. We see your 18-1 baseball team, and we respect you.
Where's that one coming from? Who did Florida State lose to? Well, now it's would
2.
Be in 2.
Because they lost to Mercer.
They lost to Florida, and then they lost in Tallahassee, and then they lost to JU. Then they lost to Mercer. I was thinking JU because Florida State has a former JU pitcher in Evan Kress who apparently suffered an arm injury, and that was against, I think, Florida. And so we'll be paying attention to that. But yeah, I understand Florida State baseball fans. They want us to talk about them because according to Baseball America, they are 4th in the country, and Georgia is actually 6th in these rankings. But I have a feeling Florida State will fall a little bit because of the loss to Mercer, but we'll see what happens against Miami. Florida took care of business against Miami earlier this season. So you would expect maybe Florida State to as well, because I don't think Miami is as good as they once were.
Yeah, and I know we're 2 days into Major League Baseball, and I already hate the umpires. So
I was like,
the umpires and the Dodgers.
The Yankees season ended about 2 weeks ago. You're telling me the Cubs season has ended with
it's
a 2-game
over.
sweep?
I'm just already like, I don't know if anybody saw the clip, but Shohei hit a home run today, but it wasn't actually a home run because there was fan interference and it dropped, and technically probably should have been a fly ball out. Instead, it was a home run, and immediately I'm like, 2 games in, I'm already like yelling at the umpires.
Which the Cubs, I'm assuming you were watching by the end of the game, Taylor, live, but the Cubs had a chance to tie the game, but unfortunately couldn't get it done.
Yeah, and I mean, it sucks. It sucks it's the Dodgers, and that's just, I mean, they're definitely on way different levels. The Cubs have a lot of things they're still trying to figure out than the Dodgers. I know, and that's what, it's just frustrating to watch when we talk about this in football too, but when a game outcome is so drastically decided by an umpire calling a play. And they even reviewed this too. So I don't know. Everyone was like, was it because it's the Dodgers? Was it because it's Shohei and Tokyo? Was it like, what is the reasonings? Because it was clearly a fan interference. But long season, breathe.
Here's one thing with college basketball I've never understood. So you have the play-in games, and not every team in the play-in games is a 16 seed.
Correct.
You've got 2 16s,
Yeah,
you've got 2 11s. Shouldn't it be almost like a 17 seed for everyone that's in the play-in game, and then whoever wins gets to then be the 16 seed? But I have no idea why there's 2 11 seeds. Well, should maybe at least 15 seeds. It makes no sense to me.
That goes to the ultimate conversation of, should you be looking at the mid-majors and saying, hey, Lipscomb won the A-Sun, but North Alabama had an amazing season. They didn't have any of these victories, but let's say that, you know, how UNF knocked off South Carolina, Georgia Tech, how Austin Peay knocked off Butler at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Let's say that North Alabama had 1 or 2 of those skins on the walls. Do you say we'd rather see North Alabama, even if it's from a low mid-major, in the field, even if it's just in the first 4, versus a team like North Carolina who plays in a Power 4 conference, but ultimately it's the weakest of the Power 4 conferences, only had 3 bids prior to UNC getting that final spot in the field of 68. And so that's where the conversation begins. If there is to be expansion, and I wonder if Matt Hayes is going to be joining us for the handoff, or if it's somebody else from XL Primetime, but I'd love to get his take, because if the field does expand, do you see more of these Power 4 teams who are just middling in their conference, but because they play in a Power 4 conference, we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they would be more competitive versus these teams that finish in second or third place in those mid-majors? And so that's why at the first 4, 2 of those games are between 16 seeds from these quote-unquote low mid-major conferences, the weakest of the 16 seeds, if you may, of the automatic qualifiers who won their conference tournament. And then the other 4 teams are
11 seeds.
Right.
Yeah.
They're from Power 4, Power 5s who, yes, then get slotted in as 11 seeds by virtue of what conference they're coming from.
It makes no sense to me still as far as the seating, but either way, tonight we have Mount St. Mary's taking on American. That one's at 6:40. And then the later game tips off at 9:10 p.m. That's between Xavier and Texas. I feel like that's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, that'll be a
But
fun
people
one.
also said North Carolina and San Diego State was going to be a good game. And at the half,
People
North
also
Carolina State
said
had doubled them up.
Yeah, people said UNC also shouldn't be in the field, and then they made a school record and tournament record 14 threes last night.
Right. Which, if you were watching the beginning, North Carolina turned the ball over 4 times in a row, and it was like, oh, maybe
Here
this
we
team
go.
doesn't deserve to be in, and San Diego State's going to win, and the whole conversation about North Carolina getting in with Bubba Cunningham, the AD, being a part of the selection committee, that's going to, get even more traction. And then, literally at the half, it was like, and you can turn this game off. It's completely over. But yeah, I'm excited about this Xavier-Texas game tonight at 9:10 p.m. Maybe because one of the teams is an SEC school, and so I want to see how they fare. But also, Xavier holds a special place in Scott Manzi's heart. That's where he went to school, the voice of the JU Dolphins. So there's always an extra intrigue. And Xavier, we've talked, I feel like, so much basketball the last 2 weeks, or especially this week. A lot of golf last week. But Xavier comes from that area where, high expectations for the basketball
in
teams.
Cincinnati. And,
Right.
and look, that's a team that lost its best player, its leading scorer, midway through the season and still has found a way. And that's in a Big East that relatively is down, maybe not to the extent of the ACC being down. And it's a credit to Sean Miller, and it's a testament to, look, things are a little unorthodox when you go back to your former disgraced coach. But in the words of Jeff Fisher, sometimes you've got to go back to go forward. And that is what the Musketeers have done. And good on them for finding a way into the field.
All right, let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
My dream, my prayers, they were answered. We have Matt Hayes here on the eve of the NCAA tournament.
Leon brought in more fried chicken.
More chicken.
I
Oh,
feel
my
like,
God.
I feel like
From
I just
Tight
had
Lady?
crack, I swear.
I had crack.
Well, I mean, listen, he's...
Would you know?
It's so good. Oh, my gosh.
I'm curious your thoughts, Matt. We were just discussing...
I'm lost in fried chicken right now.
Okay,
Sorry.
good. The first 4, Lauren asked, why is it that you've got 2 games between 16 seeds, 2 between 11 seeds from the Power 4, Power 5 conferences, if you want to include the Big East. And I said, look, if the tournament expands, if the rest of these NCAA tournaments across all sports expand, that's going to be a big chicken or the egg question of, do you say we want more teams from the Power 4, Power 5 conferences, even if they're middling in the standings, or we will take the team that finished in second or third in a mid-major conference?
Well, first off, there is no if. That's going to happen.
Right. They're going to...
All those tournaments are going to expand because they need more content to generate revenue. I don't think they care about those little idiosyncrasies. I really don't. I think all they care about is, all right, let's just start the tournament. Everybody loves the tournament because, let's be honest, it is a gambling sport.
Yeah.
College basketball is fun for the regular season. Like if you're watching at night, you're working or something, it's fun to watch. Yep. It's a 6-week sport, 5-6 week sport basically. And they know that, and they fed off it, and they've now built it to the point where their last contract was $8 billion. So they know it. They know what they're doing. They have the secret sauce. They're just going to expand it. And their thought process is, well, just be more games and more to watch for others, which is what they're doing with college football, too. It's very simple. It's the same thing.
In the same vein as college football, it doesn't matter then if it's a team from a Power 4 versus a team from the mid-major.
I don't think they care. I don't think they care at all. Well, in college football, it's a little different. Like the SEC and the Big Ten are going to say, yeah, we want more of our own, obviously.
But why wouldn't they could say that with basketball?
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure at some point it's going to be, we have this many at-larges are ours. I'm sure that will happen. Because I don't think you're going to get to, again, we were talking about this yesterday. I don't think that's going to be like a 2 or 4 edition. It's going to go to like 82, something like that. And when you do that, I don't think you're adding those 12, 14 teams or spots
to get more Group of 5 or whatever you got, whatever college basketball calls them,
mid-majors, low majors, yes.
Yeah, I don't think that's the reason for that. I think it's more like, all right, well, let's get and I'm just throwing this out there, South Carolina. I'm not saying South Carolina was out or should have made it,
right?
But let's get South Carolina in there instead of South Carolina State.
Yeah. Right. So it'll be each conference also bidding, because if SEC does it, they want to do it for obviously the SEC and Big Ten in college football. But do you think more conferences would do it for basketball? That, hey, we need X amount of spots, like ACC.
I mean, I'm sure they'll want it, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what the Big Ten and the SEC want.
Yeah.
They are running this train, and they're going to decide. They will decide on automatic bids in football. They will decide on if there are any automatic qualifications in basketball and in baseball and softball. And I'm sure there will be. Look, as sure as this thing changes every month in college sports, there will be something like that down the road.
Yeah.
The NCAA tournament is perfect. I don't want it to change whatsoever, but they don't care about me.
It's going to change.
Now it's coming up.
We're going to talk NCAA tournament. We're going to get a little bit deeper into the Jags and offseason and their biggest hole right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
The biggest need right now.
Biggest need.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, ladies.
All right, there he goes, and there we go. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow live from Hurricane Grill and Wings in San Marco. Don't go to where XL Primetime comes up next.